Okay, so today we're going to do Chapter 4 Notes, Part 1. This is over cells. I really like Chapter 4 compared to Chapters 2 and 3. It's a little bit more biology based versus chemistry. So the title of this chapter is Cell Structure and Function. 4.1 is called Cellular Level of Organization. So we're going to kind of go over some organization within the cell. So what are cells? Cells are the smallest unit of living matter. So remember, it's living. Okay, that's the key thing. The difference between an atom and a cell. A cell is actually living. I can't pronounce these names, but it's like Skeldon or something like that. Schwann and Virchow came up with the cell theory. They're clearly not from here. I won't ask you those three names though, so don't worry about that. And over to the right, you can see an actual picture of some cells. These are somebody's living cells or something's living cells. You can see the nucleus is in blue. You can see the cytoskeletons in green. It's kind of neat. That's actually what's inside of you. All right, I will ask you this on a test, the cell theory. There's three things that make up the cell theory. All organisms are made of cells. Everything that's alive is made of cells, okay? Cells are the most basic unit of living structure and function. You can't get any smaller than a cell and be alive. So they're the most basic unit. And number 3, new cells come from old cells, okay? Where do new humans come from? Old humans, right? So new cells come from old cells. That's how we make cells. The old one has to duplicate its DNA and everything else and then split. So there's the 3 parts of the cell theory. Cell size. So cells are small because they need adequate surface area for exchanging waste and nutrients. So surface area to volume ratio is perfect on a cell. So why are we not one big cell? So if you think about it, I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but if you think about something being on the outside of a cell and needing to get to the nucleus, okay, and it's out here and this is life or death, it's going to take my little cursor a long time to travel to that nucleus, right? And the cell might die. But versus over here, something can get to the nucleus a lot quicker because the surface area to volume ratio is a lot bigger, okay? There's a lot more surface to absorb things versus a huge one. And I'm trying to think of an analogy here. So if you think about, they make jokes about Dollar Generals being everywhere. So our distance to a Dollar General store is probably not that far away, probably within 10 miles. So if there was only one gigantic Dollar General in the middle of the U.S., it's going to take us, and say I had to get some Dimetapp or I'm going to die. I'm probably not going to make it to that one Dollar General in the middle of the country, right, to get my Dimetapp. It's never going to happen. I'm just going to wither away as I drive to the only Dollar General in the world or in the country. But since they're I don't even know I'm sure I could actually look it up or somebody could look it up to see where the distance between these Dollar General stores. But if I only had to drive 10 miles, I'm probably going to survive. So that's kind of the same type of thing as far as cells go and their size and their surface area to volume ratio, okay? So surface area that number would be put on top of the fraction. The volume would be put on the bottom if you ever had to do that ratio. All right, section 2 is prokaryotic cells. So prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus or any other membrane-bound organelle. So, like I said, number one, prokaryotic cells lack a nucleus. Everything in a prokaryotic cell, like that's a bacteria cell, that's a picture of a bacterial cell. Everything in there does not have a membrane around it. So you see that nucleoid, that DNA right there, that's like those squiggly lines. It's not encompassed by a membrane like our DNA is. It's not protected. Nothing in there, has a membrane. Prokaryotic cells are one of the most abundant forms of life on Earth. You have these guys in your nose, in your ears, in your stomach, in your gut, on your skin. They are everywhere. Everywhere. They're on the tables that you're sitting at right now, the floors, the walls, the doorknobs, in the air, everywhere. So we have some shapes of prokaryotic cells that you have to learn. So scientists use these names or shapes when they name the actual prokaryotic cell or species that they found. We'll look at the pictures of them too. So the first one is Bacillus. It's just going to be rod-shaped bacterium. This is like we saw on this picture. It looks like a peel to me, like those. I actually don't see any of those peels anymore for some reason, but those peels that you could actually, those capsuled peels that you could break apart. Usually, sometimes they'd have little beady looking things in them. That's what it looks like. It's the orange one over here. Looks like a peel. The second one is Coccus. It's a spherical shaped bacterium. So this is the ones that look like circles or spheres. It's over here in blue. So a common bacteria that we hear of all the time is staphylococcal, right? Aureus. That tells me that those are circular shaped bacteria cells. Then you have Spirilla. Spirilla are twisted into spirals, but they're not rigid, okay? So Spirilla is right here in purple. It's not rigid. And those are the only three that you're going to be tested on, okay? So rod-shaped, circular-shaped, and twisted spirals. Those three are the ones that you need to know. That prokaryotic cells can look different. They can have different shapes. Next, we have the cell envelope. So this has multiple layers that cover up a bacterial cell or a prokaryotic cell. The cell envelope has a plasma membrane, a cell wall, and a glycolax layer. This is like a sugar layer. Okay. So number one is plasma membrane. This is a phospholipid bilayer that has proteins embedded in it. So remember, if I had a board right now, I would draw a phospholipid. You learned about lipids last chapter. Lipids are fats, right? Well, the plasma membrane just has a lipid, and it has a phosphate as a head, and it has two little lipid tails, and it's a bilayer, so there's two of them. Do I have a picture? Eventually, I will show you a picture when we actually go over plasma membrane again. Then the envelope also has a cell wall. This is extremely rigid. This is also found in plants. Things have cell walls when they don't have bones and things to hold up the organism. And then you have that sugar layer. So look, it's a layer of polysaccharides. You learn that saccharides kind of mean sugars. This sugar layer lies on the outside of the cell wall and is sometimes called a capsule. So sometimes the bacteria that's in your mouth right now, on your teeth, that's how they stick to your teeth, is that sugar layer. So guess why your teeth start to rot when you don't brush them a lot? Because that sugar layer, the sugar that lays on your tooth, starts to rot the tooth out, just like food. So here's a picture of all three layers. You can see the yellow layer is the plasma membrane. The red layer or the maroon layer is the cell wall, and then you have that slime layer or that capsule layer on the outside that makes it sticky. Next, for prokaryotic cells, we're going to talk about the cytoplasm. This also can be found in other kinds of cells. But regardless, it's a semi-fluid solution composed of water and a few other molecules, and it's just like almost like hair gel. It's just a solution for everything to float inside the cell. Because prokaryotic cells do not have a nucleus, the DNA is going to just hang out here in the middle, and that middle space is called the nucleoid region. So right here you can see it looks like chewed up bubble gum in the middle of that cell. That's a nucleoid region right there. It's just going to kind of hang out in the middle. It doesn't have a membrane around it like a nucleus. So that's a good question. I can say, do prokaryotic cells have a nucleus? Is there a nucleus that surrounds their DNA? No, right? They do not have membranes inside their cells. They just have a nucleoid region. Again, you can see that where the nucleus is hanging out in the middle, this chromosome right here is in the nucleoid region. You're also going to have these other tiny pieces of DNA. They're circular pieces called plasmids. And prokaryotic cells also have ribosomes. So this is not a good picture, but this picture is. So you see these little black dots? Those are ribosomes, and ribosomes make proteins. We'll go over that in a minute. Maybe tomorrow, I'm not sure. All right, so metabolic diversity. So some prokaryotic cells metabolize like animals do, and that's fine because it's a lot easier to think about. But other bacteria like cyanobacteria use photosynthesis just like plants. They have thylakoids in there. These thylakoids they have chlorophyll on them. Or they don't actually have chlorophyll, but they absorb chlorophyll. Eventually they'll have it. And it makes them look green, okay? These thylakoids have these little photosystems on them that absorb this chlorophyll up, and they get filled up almost like with chlorophyll, and it makes the plant appear green, or the cyanobacteria appear green. Sometimes people call this cyanobacteria blue-green bacteria or blue-green algae sometimes. Sometimes they get confused. You can also find cyanobacteria on tree bark, water, and ditches. So here's some pictures of some types of cyanobacteria. So you're also going to have some external structures on this prokaryotic cell. I'm sure you've noticed the little tail-like thing on these pictures that we've been looking at. That's called a flagella. A flagella is like a propeller, in my mind anyway. It consists of a filament, a basal body, and a hook, and it actually twists around and makes that cell be able to move. It's almost like it's like a boat, and it's its little propeller on the back, and if it wants to move somewhere, the flagella moves. This is over here on the right. That's an actual picture of a flagella. Does that not look like a piece of machinery? It's nuts. But they're twisted right here. This hook is twisted so that it'll spin around. It has these fimbriae on the outside, which are small bristle-like fibers that sprout up from the cell surface. This is almost like Velcro. It just helps attach the cell to other surfaces or to other cells. Then you're going to have these pili on the outside. They're rigid tubular structures that can pass DNA from cell to cell. So you can put, if you want to, like a needle. All right, so these pili right here, the ones that can reach the plasmids, or right here can reach the plasmids or the DNA, and also go to the outside. So they're actually going to act like little needles, and they will insert themselves in another cell and pass DNA. That's how they get variation. These are just some pictures, bigger pictures that you can look at. You can see the flagella on the end, the pili, and then on the outskirts you'll have those little sticky guys, the Velcro. Alright, so instead of watching this in these notes, because I'm not there, I will assign this as an Edpuzzle. But if you are concerned with studying, this is a great video. He goes over everything I just talked about. He goes over everything in the cell. There's the picture of the prokaryotic cell. And then he even goes into the eukaryotic membrane-bound organelles. He goes over every single one of them. Bozeman Science, he's a teacher that he is so good, and he's so smart, and he's so great at making these videos that he took 2 years off and they paid him to make these videos. So I know he seems a little boring sometimes, but he's just direct and to the point. He's not trying to frill it up at all. He's telling you exactly what you need to know. If I had to choose some YouTube videos to watch, it would definitely be Bozeman Science. So we're going to stop right there. I believe you have another assignment to do today. If not, that's fine. But this is going to stop the notes for today, and then we're going to talk about eukaryotic cells tomorrow or the next day, whenever the next part of the notes anyway.